next.
I am ready. Thanks, Amy.
Sure.
All right. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you. Glad you've hung in this far. I'm Mark with eOne, and really what we want is for you to be able to get, well, there we go, for you to be able to get the most out of the data that you have locked in all of your systems. So we tackle this a couple of different ways, but we know that you have data locked in BC, but you also have users who are maybe using CRM, you have travel expenses, you have e-commerce solutions, reporting solutions, and that data is a little different between all of those different systems. Well, in for BC, we have a bunch of different options to help you get the most out of that data. We have lots of endpoints and connections to be able to bring data into and out of Business Central. So if you need CRM or Salesforce data brought into BC, we can handle that. If you're trying to bring in payroll data, expenses, any number of things, we can handle that. We have lots of endpoints and lots of options to be able to bring that in. If you're not yet on BC and you're here kicking the tires, we also have options to migrate data from your previous system. We just move that data into an Azure data lake, and then we have a great reporting tool that can make that data visible inside of BC. We'll show you a little bit of that today. Additionally, if you're having trouble getting at some of the data in BC, or maybe you're coming from a different system and you're used to more of a SQL Server style, then we also have a query builder that is optimized for the retrieval of BC data. We can push data very easily from Excel into BC as well. So if we've seen some nice round trip where people pull things like inventory counts out of BC, update them in Excel, and then we push them back into BC to update that data. And then finally, we're going to talk about reporting. So when we think about data, we think about it two different ways: move the data and share the data. Move the data is that traditional I need to get data from one system and put it in another system. I need to get payroll data and put it in Business Central so that we can update our general ledger, have appropriate financial statements, all that kind of stuff. That's the traditional move the data. For us, that's our Smart Connect product. Share the data is a little different. We'll probably spend the most time today on share the data. But in many cases, folks have moved the data in the past because they didn't have a better option. And move the data can result in just a lot more data in a system than actually needs to be there. I don't know about you, but every CRM system I've ever seen, it doesn't matter the vendor, they have a lot of extra fields because every new revenue management officer comes in and wants to change the fields and how CRM works, and it makes it pretty messy. So rather than moving data from BC into Microsoft CRM or into Salesforce, we can actually show that data embedded inside the application without having to move it around. So we'll take a look at those pieces. We can do all of this low code, no code. Everything is just clicks at this point. So pretty straightforward and easy. All right. So this is Smart Connect. And Smart Connect on the web, this is what we would use to bring in data to BC. It's really straightforward. You're simply going to connect to the two sides. So where do I want to bring data from and what do I want to send it to? And looks like I'm going to get to log in again. So 1 second here. All right. So you're going to pick a connection. You're going to pick your two connections. So from Dynamic CRM to BC, for example, are the two sides of your connection. You're going to pick a data source, and for data sources, we support all kinds of things, including queries from other systems, files, folders. All of those would be part of a bulk data source. Change triggers, so if something changes, we can capture those and tee them up to put them all in one big integration. And then real-time triggers with a real-time trigger, when something changes in one system, it moves automatically into the next system. The bulk and change triggers can be scheduled, so they run on a regular integration for you. Lots of control over success, how we report it. We can report via Teams, we can report via email, lots of options there. If something does go wrong, we have great notifications for what went wrong, easy retries, easy reloading of just the items that failed. So there's a lot of power in Smart Connect and a lot of power to connect to systems when that data does need to be moved. But let's spend a few minutes on PopDoc. And PopDoc is more about sharing the data and making that data available. So this is our web-based interface, but we'll see it in a couple of other places as well. The setup work gets done in the web-based interface. From a reporting standpoint, you'll see we can have just a traditional list of data that pops up here, pretty straightforward. We can also set these things up to be um, charts, to be other types of items, so cards to make that data a little easier. And whenever we have zoom up, it takes a minute or two to refresh things. So we've got a chart going here. We'll come back here in a minute, but if you have folks who don't have access to various systems and you still need to give them data, you can use the web interface. But let's take a look at Business Central. One of the nice things about Business Central is we have the ability to embed this data actually inside of Business Central. So here we're going to see a bunch of PopDoc transactions or a bunch of transactions from multiple systems as soon as this decides to catch back up. But as that data loads, one of the things that you're going to see here is that this data, in this case, this is purchasing transactions, and these are coming from Business Central. But this is a multi-list widget. So inside of Business Central, we have reporting on data from Dynamics 365 Sales, so CRM. We can see reports pulling in data from CRM. I don't have to leave Business Central to get the information that I need. I don't have to worry about task switching, losing my focus, seeing a squirrel run across the road and distracting me. Everything I need is sitting here inside of BC. I don't have to keep moving around. Additionally, if you're moving from another system into BC, just as an example, we've got some Dynamics GP data information here that was stuck in a data lake. We picked it up, we moved it to an Azure data lake, and we can report off of it in BC. So as you're needing that legacy data, it can be available for you, including things like smart lists and those types of things. And this isn't limited to GP. If you're not on BC yet and you're moving there, we have the ability to bring data from all kinds of other systems and make it available. But as we go down here, you'll see even Shopify data, WooCommerce data, Salesforce data. We've done Zendesk data. So if you're trying to figure out from a collection standpoint, what are you seeing in terms of support issues for your customer? You could actually have those support items sitting there in a window right next to your sales and collection information. Just a little different look. Again, inside of Business Central, let's take just a second here. So this is Aaron Fitz. This is a simple customer card, but we're also able to provide that data contextually. So in this case, we're only seeing data from Aaron Fitz. Inside of this card, we're pulling in sales data here. And you'll see in this case, we've actually merged data from multiple systems. So as I scroll over, I see that some of this data came from a previous system, in this case, Dynamics GP, and some of this data is now coming from Dynamics 365. So we're able to see this data all combined. If we want to see lifetime value of the customer or something like that, it's all in one spot. We don't have to leave BC. But we're not completely focused on BC. Sometimes you need that BC data someplace else. Maybe inside of Salesforce. What I really need is my people to see that BC data inside of salesforce.com to be able to say, hey, is this customer on hold? So maybe I'm not allowed to sell to them. Or maybe I need to see sales and payment transactions because I'm thinking about maybe what credit terms I want to offer this customer. So just taking a look at Salesforce, you'll see here inside Salesforce, we have reporting there as well. In this case, this is sales lines by salesperson inside of Salesforce. This is coming from BC. So we're able to embed this data inside of other systems as well. Again, we want people to work where they spend their day, wherever they work most comfortable. We want to give them all the data they can in that spot. Switching applications is just kind of miserable. When people make that change, they go into the new application, they barely know how to use it. They learn how to do their one thing and nothing else. And typically they get distracted. What should be a 30-second or 1 minute can take 10 minutes, depending on, what's going on. They turn around, waiting for things to load, get distracted by something else in the room, dog barks at them, whatever. So trying to keep people working in the application they spend most of their day in is a giant win for the organization and for the user as well. They get a whole lot more done, feel better at the end of the day. Hopping briefly back into PopDoc, just so that you can see what this looks like. Um, when we look at our connectors, these lists are basically connected to specific systems. We support a giant number of systems, so there's a lot of connectors here. We support REST APIs as well as multiple kinds of SQL, not just Microsoft, but Oracle and MySQL and all of the others. And when we look in these, we also have a feature that is specific to Business Central, and that is the Query Builder. So our Query Builder here is a visual tool for working with BC data. So similar to SQL Server's visual query tool that is part of SQL Server, you can pull up tables from BC, you can do joins, you can connect them left outer, right outer, inner joins, whatever you want to do, drag those items in. And when you're done, you just get a list to be able to work with in PopDoc, just like any of the other lists you've seen. And just to give you an idea, when you've got a list in PopDoc, in fact, we'll do it in BC for a second. So in my list in BC here, I've got filters, so I can slim this down, add a filter, many as I want. I can set up favorites, so I can save this for later. I can share it with other users. I can share it with other team members. And I can export. Obviously, Excel is right here. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy to use. I just want to highlight that this looks like BC. We've themed it to look like BC. This has the same controls at the top, does not look like BC. And then when we look at Salesforce, also does not look like BC or PopDoc, looks like Salesforce. Again, just to make it easier for folks to work in the system that they're used to working in. And then the last thing here, as we look at these items, you'll notice maybe I want more information. You also have the ability to build your own drill downs. We select here. I can come and click lines. I'm going to get a window that pops open with more information about this transaction. So as you're working through all of this, all of the data that you need is really there at your fingertips. When you've got the list you want in PopDoc, you simply create a widget. It's just a matter of hitting a couple of buttons and you get a line item. And that line item is the link back to the list that you've built. And then you just drop that into a window in BC, or you assign it to a window in Salesforce. You can add it to any number of other systems, including an iframe, to make that data available wherever it needs to be. So once you've got that list built, getting it into the application you want is usually really straightforward. Again, we are eOne. We're looking to integrate, migrate, and report on your data and let you use that data anywhere that you need it. So again, if you need us, reach out, eonesolutions.com. I'm Mark Polino. I'm all over the place. It's not hard to find me. So thanks again, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much, Mark. That was great.